Hey, Michael, thank you for joining us for TruPoint Talking Tech this month.
Hey,
Great to see you.
John, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to it.
Excellent. So today, for TruPoint Talking Tech this month, we're going to be featuring PolyAI. We've got Michael Sabelli, who is the VP of Channel, joining us today. And Michael, let's start out with just tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up at in your role at PolyAI?
Yeah, thanks, John. I've been at this UCAS, CCAS thing for a long time. I won't tell you the exact dates, but let's say we go back to on-prem business, to then the move to the cloud with many of the companies that I'm sure you all know. Um, and as things started to move to AI, I talked to a friend who said, the technology here is just something special. And I had a ton of interest in AI. I love the contact center space. And I joined them about a year and a half ago to actually build out a channel. They actually didn't have one here.
Okay. So, PolyAI, not a name that everybody knows, but it's in a very emerging field of tech, specifically within the AI space. So tell me a little bit about PolyAI.
Yeah, so PolyAI was founded by three gentlemen who actually worked on the Siri project that was obviously eventually sold to Apple
Interesting.
when they were at the University of Cambridge in the language labs. And they started PolyAI because of their love of voice and the difficulty in getting voice right. And we really have come out with what we believe are the most naturally sounding, most human-like conversational AI digital assistants out there. And a heavy, heavy focus on that because it's the voice piece that we believe is the toughest part to get right.
So virtual assistants. Dig deeper for that for people who may not be already familiar with the concept of a virtual agent or virtual assistant.
Yeah, lovingly known as bots by a lot of people. Um, So yeah, think that front end of the call, where back in the day you were probably coming down some IVR tree that was pushing you down particular paths. And what we've designed is something that allows a customer to just speak naturally as if they were talking to a person, because in many instances they don't even know that they aren't. Um, and drive the conversation the way they want it to go and not be led down. So as simple as starting out a conversation with, "Thank you for calling ABC Company. How can I help you today?" And the customer then goes down the path, whether they're going down a use case of um, ID&V, whether they're going down something having to do with ordering or billing or wherever they want to go, they can simply go that way, and we just continue to respond back and forth in a natural conversation.
So when you're interfacing with a virtual agent like that, um, what percentage of an activity or what types of activities can a call center manager expect that the virtual agent can handle for them?
Yeah, it really depends on the use case, but we can contain upwards of 40% of the calls and more at times for particular use cases. As an example, we've done this for companies, again, that you know and love, some big names, in multiple languages, where we work to contain that call. And we do it by, as I spoke about earlier, allowing them to go down the path they want, but then, as important, or maybe even more importantly, understanding what was said. That is a very, very difficult piece because we all speak differently. It's not like a chat where if you're writing something in a chat, you all write the same way. As an example, if I said to you, because when you called in and I said, "Well, what is your account number?" And in a chat, you would put ABC 123. And everyone would put that the same way because there's no other way to say it. In the spoken word, I could say it's ABC 123. You, however, might say it's Alpha Beta Charlie 123. So what did I hear? How do I make sure I heard the right thing? Because as soon as I turn around and I say to you, "I'm sorry, I didn't get that," the customer typically says, let me talk to a live agent.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the, the areas where when we've had these conversations with clients and when we've applied this technology before, the concern is always raised by the IT director or by the operations leader. Will this really deflect that, or will they know they're talking to someone that's not a person?
We like to say it this way. I'm not trying to fool somebody into believing that they're talking to a live person. I'm trying to make them comfortable talking to a bot,
Makes sense.
right?
It's a different
So
approach. I like
yeah,
that.
but oftentimes you should, in our calls, they, if someone tries to talk over the virtual assistant as an example, you'll hear them apologize to the virtual assistant. You'll hear them thank the virtual assistant at the end as if they were talking to a person because they become comfortable with it. And honestly, in many instances, they do think they're actually talking to a person because we work to make sure that we're on brand, that that particular company wants to portray to that end user customer. And we could talk more about that.
So you mentioned a couple of things that I want to dig a little deeper on. You mentioned, some large logos that you guys have, not asking for names, but what size business and what types of business are an ideal fit for PolyAI?
Um, so when you look at, individual customer profiles, we really look for incoming call volume more than anything else, because at certain points, the incoming call volume transcends into an ROI. So
Okay.
what we look for is typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 350,000 to 500,000 incoming call minutes per year.
Per
When you
year.
start to look at those numbers, then you can start to say, okay, depending on the use case, I can really make this work. To give you an idea, and I'm not ashamed to say names because some of them are just such well-known brands. I mean, as an example, we worked with FedEx,
Mhm.
and we've got FedEx deployed in 19 languages on 3 continents, and we haven't even done it in North America yet. That's on its way. But it's work like that and trust from companies like that that really show the value of what we're doing, because those are companies that really want their brand represented well. If you look into ICP outside of just volume, I would tell you it's companies that really care about their brand and they want their CX to be something that's really special to their customers. So think hospitality. Um, we look, we're doing Marriott Gaylords as an example in hospitality, and taking some of the use cases that we can do for them away from the mundane tasks and leaving their people there to really help the guest when they need it, right? That's just an example, but a couple others would be healthcare. We have a strong vertical in utilities. We have a strong vertical there as well. FinServe, retail. Um, those are just a sample of them. Depending on the use case, there's quite a few more that we can really help.
Yeah, so when you're talking about 30,000 minutes, doing the quick math on that, yeah, it's only 500 hours of talk time per month. That's not a lot. You could accomplish that with only a few agents. So definitely something that speaks to all many size businesses, not all. Um, so obviously there's other competitors that have emerged in your space as well. What are the, kind of the four key differentiators for Poly AI?
Yeah, thanks for that. I would say first off, you really got to hear it, because the voice quality and the human-like aspect of this virtual assistant is truly unlike anything you've ever heard. The fact that it works, whether it's an on-prem customer or a cloud customer, we don't care. It's a simple SIP connection in most cases that we can put on there. So we can help extend that life of somebody who was on-prem that didn't want to move to cloud yet and uplift their entire contact center, but they wanted some AI capabilities. So we could elongate that usage of that with AI on the front. And then later when they move to cloud, we can pop off that on-prem piece, put on the cloud piece, and continue to go down the same path that they were with us. So the sound is really important, how we sound to the end user and being on brand. And by on brand, I mean these are all custom built. So if you came to me and you said, I want a male voice or a female voice, I want it to have an accent because my company is located in Texas, as an example, and I want to sound Texan in this approach, we do all of that. It's very, very custom on brand. Another area that's incredibly important to us that I mentioned earlier was the ability to understand. And our ability to understand and contain those calls and not have somebody jump out and say, assistant or representative so fast is because we deploy multiple ASRs. And ASRs allow you to understand what's said. In the
Okay.
example I gave you earlier, where I said, I could say ABC 123, and you might say Alpha Beta Charlie 123.
Sure.
Most competitors choose a particular ASR, and that's their ASR for alphanumerics, which is what we're listening to there. What we do is we deploy multiple ASRs. And in deploying multiple ASRs, it ensures that we're having several look at it at the same time, and then they all feed it back to us instantaneously. Then we aggregate what we thought was said, and then we determine what was actually said. So the ability to do that creates much more positive links to actually what was said. And when you do those types of things, it contains those calls. So that's really important. And then the fourth one, I would say, our partners say to us, I love the fact that when you guys deploy something, it doesn't end there. And it doesn't. So what we do is we assign someone to that account and we monitor and we keep tweaking and changing as needed to make sure that we continue to get better and better and that on brand sounds like it should. If there's a particular word that wasn't picked up, we make sure it is picked up. All those types of things we continue to do as we move forward. And for that reason, I think customers love the fact and our partners love the fact that we don't put it in and run away. We stay with you in lockstep to make sure that that customer is treated the way you want them treated.
Yeah, I think that managed approach is important. Every engagement of this type that we've been involved with, always evolves over time, right? You're going to deploy it, then it's going to get smarter, then you're going to tweak this, you're going to adjust this, and it's going to get better over time. If you don't have that partner who's still working with you, it can be very challenging to start and stop.
Yeah, without a doubt. And in fact, it can even do a bit more from a standpoint of analytics, right? So we deployed for a customer who actually was a restaurant chain. And it was in a casino in Las Vegas. And we did all of their restaurants for the casino. And what we found when we looked at the analytics was the vast majority of calls were for two top tables, people that were visiting Las Vegas as a couple, but their restaurant was configured for 4 and 6 tops for the most part. And we said, hey guys, we just found this out by looking at a lot of analytics. The calls coming in for reservations are for 2 tops. If you change out 6 tops and 4 tops for more 2 tops, you're going to be able to increase the number of reservations that you take on. And as a result, they returned $4.2 million in additional reservations over the first year. Those are the things that you can bring back to somebody that really hit home, right? They may have thought the next thing that they were going to do with the virtual assistant could have been reservation, right? Or something else of that wouldn't have just changed everything. When in fact, we gave them the analytics and the facts and had them reconfigure, and it really returned a great return for them.
It's huge ROI right there. I mean, that makes it a
really
no-brainer.
is.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned, and this may be a strange ask in this environment. You mentioned, you need to hear it. Is it possible to play a sample or a demo, or is that something you typically do for customers?
Yeah, it is. I can actually play one for you now if you'd like.
Yeah, if it's easy to do,
Yeah,
let's do
it
it. Let's
is
see if it
easy
works
to
on the
do.
recording.
Let me pull one up here. And I'm gonna actually play you an actual customer call. So you're not hearing a demo, you're actually hearing a customer call. This might be an interesting one. Just tell me to make sure that you can hear it. Ready?
Thank you for calling Carter's in Oshkosh.
Hearing it.
My name is Maria. How may I help you?
Are you a real person?
I'm a virtual assistant. I can help you track and cancel orders and answer all kinds of questions about shopping with Carter's brands. What can I do for you today?
Could I please talk to a customer service representative?
Could you tell me a bit more about why you're calling so I can know where to route you?
I'm trying to track an order and I don't have a tracking number.
Of course, I'd be happy to help you check the status of an order. I see an order here associated with the number you're calling from, but I just need to check that it's the right one. Do you have the last 4 digits of your order number on you?
No,
Not a problem. I can also check by the order date. What date did you place the order?
June 25th, 2023.
Great, I've got the right order here. Looks like that order is currently in transit. Do you want me to send you a text message with that information and a link to our online order tracker?
Yes,
Okay, just a second. Does the number you're calling from work to receive a text?
yes.
And that's sent. You should receive the message any minute. Is there anything else I can do for you today?
No, thank you.
And there you have it.
So a couple of things that stood out to me on that. First of all, the voice quality. Super clean, super crisp. But I felt like the speed and tonality was very, different than what you typically hear with a lot of the, a lot of your competitors. Is that something that takes a lot of work on the customer's end to achieve, or is that something that kind of comes more out of the box from you guys?
No, it actually takes a lot of work from us to achieve that.
Okay.
There are a lot of different things that we do relative to taking away a lot of the background noise, a lot of the pauses, a lot of the unnecessary things that happen during a conversation. And we're able to compress that. And then we do things that help it where, as you may have heard, when she was going to send the SMS, she said, and that's sent. So what that does is it goes in, grabs the information, sends it, and instead of there just being dead air, it's really a knack. There's an art to this. There's an art and a science. And when you combine the art and science, you can get results like that. And that's what you heard there. But the funny thing there, that woman actually did not want to talk to a virtual assistant,
Yeah, it
right?
started confrontational. Yeah.
But she actually, Maria is their virtual assistant, and Maria didn't give up. Maria said, "Oh, I can help you with that," and then kept going. It's up to excuse me, it's up to the customer as to how many times they want somebody to ask for a live person or a representative before you send them. She only asked once, so we kept going. Had she asked again, if the customer said after 2, send them, or some say after 3, it just depends. And then she
Yeah.
thanked it at the end.
What's that?
Did you hear her say thank you at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's super interesting. So what are the main business problems that you're solving for most of your clients? I mean, I know it's different industry to industry and every case is unique, but are there some generalities where, you guys just really show ROI well?
Everyone, I think, points to the fact that they say, you know, agents, bots, whatever, are taking away from people, right? I would tell you that you really don't have one or the other. You need to have a blend of both if you want
Sure.
to do the proper customer experience that your customers really want. Some want it one way, some want it another. if you blend the two, you can do a lot of things. I think that makes sense. As an example, I can take away a lot of the mundane tasks that customers call in for, whether it be FAQs, checking an order and things like that. And I can leave my live agents there really for those customers that really need some deep help that you may not have solved with a virtual agent. Not to say they can't, because we have some that are pretty unique and pretty intense in terms of how we had to build those. But you're really leaving your live agents there for those customers for a great experience. The other thing I'd say is, not all agents are created equal. So the turnover that you're seeing in contact centers in a year, the rehiring, the training, everything that you have to do. And then if you have a lot of agents, your agent here at the top of the heap is not the same as this one. A virtual agent has the same conversation each and every time with the same tone, the same answers. They don't get flustered. So that combination, I think, works really well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think the turnover piece is really critical here. We've worked with different call centers, and everybody has a turnover rate that can be anywhere from, the really good ones are, maybe 20%. But I've worked with call centers that, have up to 80% annual attrition or annual turnover. So what impact can you guys provide for them through the use of your virtual agents?
Yeah, we have had tremendous impact in that space. Again, because by putting in a virtual agent, if I had a 200-person call center as an example, and I can contain 40% of the calls, right? I'm reducing that number of agents there down to 140, right? So I'm saving you 60 agents overall in FTE costs. Then I'm also saving you in terms of the rehire and retraining of agents of 200 versus 140. So your savings are there. Another area around those agents that's been really successful is around the holiday seasons. You heard that Carter's call. So that was the initial piece with Carter's. And here's what happened with Carter's. When they called us 2 years ago on the Black Friday, Thanksgiving holiday season, all the way up through New Year's, they had 400 people in queue, inordinate amount of wait time. Customers were very disgruntled, right? By the time they get to the agent, they have an attitude. The agents are getting beat up. We deployed the virtual assistant in May of that following year. From May until we got to November, here's what happened. They had 3 contact centers, Canada, the US, and Mexico. We contained so much that the US contact center had off for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. And we handled everything from Canada and Mexico and allowed the US associates to be home with their families on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Never happened before, right?
Wow.
So we did 2 things there. We had 0 calls waiting in queue. We handled the calls for them. So the customer experience went up, but also the employee experience went up because the employees were able to be home over the holiday and enjoy that with family, which they had never done before. They actually hired, it was over 100, I believe it was 140 less agents for that period of time between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And think about that for a second. If I had to hire, train, and put those people on the phone for just that short period of time, the cost associated with that, and also think about the quality of the agent that I was going to have when I got to number 140, right? I mean, that's not a knock on people. It's just a fact. Everyone can't be your star agent.
Right. Well, and when you're dealing with a high level of turnover, you just have to have butts and seats. Not, and sometimes you can't spend the time that you need to, or the development resources you need to really focus on those best agents.
100% agree. And that's what we're finding. And that's what the customers are finding.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of what agent satisfaction impact, whether it be numerical percentage, customer satisfaction or agent satisfaction. Do you have any idea of what kind of improvement you see there typically? Or
Yeah,
you
I wouldn't be able to give you a specific number. Again, they
I
vary.
was just curious.
They vary so greatly, but I will tell you this. We do see a reduced amount of turnover once the virtual assistants are in place, because again, the agents are being left to do things for clients that I think make them feel more valued. So in other words, I'm not just sitting there hitting repeat on, hi, I'm coming to visit your property. Can I have a dog in my room? And if so, like how big? And it's like, okay, yes, you can have a dog. It can't be over 40 pounds. And we take all that stuff away
Yeah.
and just handle those so easily that those agents, I think, feel truly valued because they're really helping customers solve things that they really need solved.
Well, as an operations leader too, if you're focusing on your better agents and keeping and retaining those better agents, there's going to be less repeat calls, less, oh, I dealt with the bad agent type calls that they have to deal with, right? So it makes a ton of sense.
Yes, exactly. In fact, what we do for these customers is we work alongside you during our discovery process to really understand all of that. How many agents? How long is the average hold time? What's your turnover like? You name it, we ask the questions relative to that contact center. We take all of their information and we put it into an ROI model that allows us to read it back with you to your customer. So when we tell them, look, we believe that we can contain in this use case X% of the calls, and by doing that, you're going to be able to do this, this, and this, which is going to return an ROI to you of Y.
So you're putting in writing the expected ROI. That's
Yes.
powerful.
It's very powerful. And we work like heck behind those scenes to do all those little tweaks and changes that I told you about to make sure that we hit those. We stay with it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pre-sales and implementation process just a little bit.
Okay.
So pre-sales, you're talking about the discovery, the data collection. I'm assuming you're listening to some calls. Are you going through a full intent study with the client, listening to the types of calls that are coming in and what customers are asking to do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's very key for us. We talk about, what type of calls so that we can develop the use cases that we think will be most impactful out of the gate. The key here too is not to try to boil the ocean and do everything for the client or the customer. You want to actually do this in steps. And that's another reason why we stay with you through the whole thing. So, it's very simple to do FAQs, right? We could deploy this, do FAQs. We know what it's going to contain. They have all of their information in various databases. We have a lot of information from the years that we've been into this with our own LLM to be able to answer a lot of these questions, right? You start there, they go, okay, I'm seeing the value. I love this. Here's what we want to do next. And that's what we go, yes, that makes sense. Or according to your analytics, here's where you should go next. And then we move into another use case and we see that grow and grow. As an example, you heard that Carter's use case. After that, the next thing we did for them, this one could blow your mind. Carter's has a policy where if a price drops on a particular item, they will refund you the difference in that price over, it's either a 10 or 14-day period. I forget which one it is exactly. So customers were calling in to get the pricing rebate and they were processing giving money back with people. So this was, that was a double whammy. That was a cost turn and having a person do it. So that use case, as I told you earlier, I said, you could do some simple ones. This one was more complex because there was a 7-step process that the representative had to go through to do that. And what we did was with the virtual agent was we took the shopping cart, we built a second one. We had the read of the dates to make sure it fell within the dates. We had a read of the pricing to make sure of the price difference. We did a calculation to actually figure out the difference in how much they would get back. And then we actually refunded it back to their credit card that they used to make the initial transaction. They were just blown away because you took a 7-step process doing it with the virtual agent. And I mean, you got to hear one of those where someone's calling in to get literally, I'm not kidding you, 50 cents difference, and you were processing that with a person, but you had to do it.
Yeah.
So that went well. And then the next thing they did was, their agent is Maria. And they did that on purpose because, as I said, there were 3 contact centers, one in Mexico and one in Canada, aside from the US. And Maria was a very easy name for us to use in all 3. And so now Maria is doing everything for them in Mexico as well.
So for our clients that are listening here, and who find, this technology is interesting, they've got a contact center, they've got some agents, they're dealing with some high turnover, they've got some repetitive tasks, they'd like to improve their agent experience, they'd like to improve their customer experience. What's the initial, Tara, delete that, let's start again. For customers who, find value in what you're talking about, who find, would like to improve customer experience, would like to improve agent experience, what's the best way for them to get started? Are they looking for one particular project, one particular type of call that they're looking to, deploy this on, or should they be thinking about deploying this right away throughout the entire organization?
Yeah, I would definitely not do the second part of that and deploy it across the entire organization.
That was my thought as well.
Yeah, you like to start in a particular area. We've done it as much as departmental or just a specific use case, depends how they're set up. The best way to do this is for us to go in and just have a discovery conversation with you and the customer. See what they're experiencing, understand some of what they're trying to accomplish. Have they thought about any type of transition plan to move towards AI or anything like that? And if they have or haven't, we can have those conversations and help guide them along the way on specific customers that may be in the same exact vertical that we're experiencing a lot of the same pain problems, where we can share those and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or here's something we did in ABC company. Are you experiencing this? Yes, we are. This is where we started with them. It might be a good place to start. And then we build out from there. But I find that to be the best way to do it. If you do it, and even when we do that, we don't just put that in and then go turn on the faucet and go, okay, let's all have all these calls flow in. You have 10% of the calls flow in.
Yeah.
And you make sure everything's running as it's supposed to. And then you turn it up a little bit more and you put 20% of the calls through. And we check everything. Or how are you guys experiencing this? Are you getting hangups? Customers being responsive to it? Have we had blips? Are there words that are missing or anything of that sort? And we continue to refine until finally we say, all right, it's time to turn it up. And you turn it up and you let it fly. And it just works.
Well, great tech in an emerging area. But I think the approach, the true managed approach is important with what you guys are doing. So really appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us. Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to make sure we get out there?
It's really been our pleasure. I love talking about this, and I love helping customers work on their transition because it is absolutely effective. So if any of you are looking to make some change, talk to John and team. We're happy to join in, give you some ideas, and see if there's something we can work out.
Well, Michael, I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Again, I think it's a very relevant topic. And for those who are tuning in, thank you again for taking the time to listen to TruPoint Talking Tech for this month, which we had with PolyAI. Michael Savelli, VP of Channel Sales. Thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.